I like to come out here and get clarity and just sit out here by the water and enjoy the scenery and think. So when I go back into my normal space, I just have ultimate clarity. You know what I'm saying? So I think I'm gonna stop by Johnny Rockets again and get some of that food. Bang. But I was thinking about David and Goliath because I'm still in the book of Samuel, and the story of David and Goliath is in the book of Samuel. So um, everyone knows the basic story, right? David, a young boy, young handsome boy, who was skilled in fighting, and he was called upon by God to take on the Philistines, right? Uh, just like Samson, right? So, and even reading that story, it had me think, like, who really are the Philistines? Because it seems like the battle with them is always just ongoing. You know, with no matter what tribe it is, it's always against the Philistines, however you want to pronounce it. I just say Philistines. And David was called upon, and he was told to basically like stay home, but he didn't. He went to meet up with some of the elders, and they asked him, why did he come? And he said, well, isn't there a cause? Isn't there like a reason why, I should be here, in this war, in this battle, you know? But the elders, I think they, at that point, that they didn't know that God had actually called upon him for that mission. It had been bestowed upon him. He had been chosen for that. But, he was there and he showed up, and the elders asked him why he was there, and some of the women and stuff like that. And again, he said, well, isn't there, not a cause for me to be here? So Goliath, who was very large in size, and he was a Philistine, however you want to say it, he was a Philistine. And he says, well, I'll crush Judah and, the tribes that are before me, I'll crush them, right? Because of his size, and he also was a great warrior from a very young age, Goliath. And so, uh, getting to the meat and potatoes, Goliath and some of the Philistines, well, if not some of the Philistines, Goliath and the rest of the Philistines, the group of people, they charged towards Judah and David. But David also grabbed, well, first, before that happened, he went down to the water and he grabbed several smooth rocks and he put them in his pocket with his slingshot. So now that the fighting has started, or the conversation had began before the fighting, David charged towards them. They charged for David. Says that he put a rock in his slingshot, slung it, and it pierced David right in his forehead, into his forehead, killing him in front of everyone. And then the Philistines stopped, and David was uh, given a position by Saul. Now Saul, who was ruler over Judah, over the people of Israel at that time, also says that uh, God regretted putting him in that position. But I understand why he regretted it, but he allowed it to be because there was other things that had to come about from it, especially with David. Now, after David uh, kills Goliath in front of the Philistines, and Saul gave him a position in his kingdom and stuff like that. And when they got back to, I think it was Gibeah or Gilgab, I forget exactly where. It's a couple days ago. A lot of other things that went through my mind, so I'm just talking about this off sheer memory of me reading the story a couple of days ago. So they get back to where they were going, and it says that the women came out and everyone was celebrating Saul and you know the victory over the Philistines and the Philistines. And it says that the women came out and they sang and they played instruments, and they said Saul has killed uh, 1,000 men, uh, but David has killed tens of thousands. And immediately, it says that immediately Saul became jealous and wanted to kill David because of that. Jealousy had immediately taken over him. But this is the thing, Saul had already had wickedness in his heart. And that's why they believe that God regretted it, but he allowed it to be. Um, so Saul's son, I forget his name. Please forgive me. It slips my mind at the moment. Saul's son and David became basically inseparable. It says that Saul's son loved David as he loved his own soul. So they basically became like best friends, you would say, brothers, you would say, in spirit. But it says that Saul kept setting him up to get killed. He was set up to be killed by the Philistines, but it didn't work. Then Saul tried to do it himself, not once, but twice. And David's son, I forget his name, he helped him get away. He wanted him to come eat dinner as he usually did, because Saul didn't allow David to go back home to his people. He kept him with him, and I think every week uh, they had dinner together. But David didn't show up. I think it's because, well, not I think it's because Saul's son had warned him that if he went to dinner, his father was going to kill him. And since he didn't show up, Saul became furious with his son and threw a spear at him. And Saul's son became infuriated back and told David everything that was supposed to happen or that would happen if he stayed around. So he helped him escape. And that's where I'm up to. I haven't finished the whole story, but that's where I'm up to. And, and when we talk about the story of David and Goliath, and we talk about different stories in Scripture, there's a lot of brutality in Scripture that churches don't talk about and things like that. There's a lot of brutality in the Scripture, but the story of David and Goliath is one. It's a story of strength, right, in faith, but it's also a story of jealousy and envy, right? Saul became this way towards David simply because he was praised higher for killing more of the enemy, and then Saul just became, just became like just a jealous person of that, young, handsome. So that's what I'm getting from the story. It's a story of triumph, of strength, of faith, and also of jealousy and envy and treachery, because you're getting both in one story. And David's young. Saul is uh, uh, at that time, Saul was put in place to rule over the people of Israel for a time, again, just like Samson. So it's a lot in it. It's a lot of brutality in Scripture. It's a lot that the churches don't talk about. It's a lot that, everyone makes God out to be like just this fluffy being in the sky that forgives everything. No, he will kill you, but justly. Not do it just to do it, not do it out of jealousy and envy. He will do it out of pure justice. You know, if you have a wicked heart and you become intolerable, yes, that's when it will happen. But, he has his soldiers here on earth too. They're just not out in the open. He has his soldiers here on earth too, but it's a really cool story, a great story. I'm still reading it. I haven't finished it, but I just want to talk about it up to this point. So keep your faith, keep your strength, um, stay in prayer, stay engulfed in your mission, stay engulfed in your studies, stay engulfed in your path, because that's the only way you're really going to make it through this stuff. And that's what I get from the stories as well. The story of Samson, David, great people, very strong people, handpicked by God to go into battle, not only spiritually but physically, um, and to show people um, what it is to behave properly and not use your power for the wrong things. Because every time, and that's also something that I left out. Um, every time Saul set David up, he behaved in a way that made Saul even more. He didn't act out. He didn't become, you know, infuriated and things like that. Only thing he asked was, why does he want these things to happen to me? Why does he want me to do these things? He never got out of character. He never behaved in a way that made people angry. He just stayed humble. He just remained humble, you know. And I think that's what was making Saul even more mad, is that he couldn't make him mad. But he hurt his feelings. He heard him like, yo, why would he want this to happen to me? And even after David knew that Saul had those emotions towards him, he still served him and he still did right by him, you know, and he won the people over because of that. Saul started to look bad in front of the people, and David started to look more like a king in front of the people because of how he handled everything, how he behaved when everything came towards him. And the people knew that Saul had that animosity towards him, and they started to turn on him. So, you know, just behave properly, handle all your issues properly, and just keep moving forward, man. These are the lessons. This is what you'll get from the stories and from scripture. So, yeah, stay reading, stay studying, stay in your book, and I'm out.